Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Do, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 144 of Engagement in Peril by Dara, Odoe, Sok. Chapter 144 is titled Down and Dirty in Paris. Paris, France, November 18 to November 21st, 2007. With some food purchased from the Amsterdam's grocery store, we boarded Jin's car and drove out of that European city of sins. We drove onward, and our destination this time was Paris, France. While on the road, Delilah took a nice long nap atop my lap, while Chia slept against the passenger side window of the front seat. I kept awake, making sure Jin was wide awake himself while he was driving us to our next European city and country. While he drove onward, I kept him busy with some questions and comments. Several times, stopped to gas up the car and got food and used the restroom facilities at local gas stations and rest area. The drive from Amsterdam to Paris took about 5 hours or so, or more from the early morning. Several times throughout our long drive, Delilah awoke and smiled at me. She's so damn cute in that sense. When she when she looks up at me with those lovely hazel eyes and with her freckled, chubby, baby porcelain face looking down back at her, I want to drive her face and open her mouth atop my hardened shaft and suffocate her with my manly urges there and then. But then again, we were in the back seat of my cousin's moving BMW 750. After the long drive from Amsterdam to France, Jin drove us into the city of Paris. The freeway was really crowded and slowly moving at times. I I woke up delighted to see all the tall buildings and skyscrapers that we were driving through. Paris was like any other metropolitan city, crowded with buildings and businesses and full of people of all races and nationality. It was a concrete jungle of Paris, France. Of course, we saw graffiti, whatnot, some in French writing and such. Cars there were much smaller than that cars in the States. Very few giant SUVs, whatnot. But the hustle and bustle of the city life was horrendously all around us. Parking sucked too. Very few parking spaces were available, and most parking spots charge a fee or so for the use of the parking space. First thing that Jin did was drive Delilah and I to our hotel in Paris. We told him that the name of the hotel. He punched it in his car's GPS navigator and found the location of the Hotel Royal Opera. With his trusted car navigator, he drove us onward toward the Hotel Royal Opera. Since it was our check-in and date anytime, since it was our check-in date anyway for the start of our stay in Paris, France, and once we arrived to the front of the hotel, Delilah, Chia, and I exited the car, and with our luggage in tow, Jin waited for us to check into our hotel and for us to return shortly after. We entered the compact three-story hotel that was situated across the street from the French bread bakery, and several spaces down from a family-owned Thai restaurant. With our luggage and Chia, Delilah checked us in and got our room key. And she got our room card's key. Our room was on the second floor, so we took up the narrow, winding stair and entered our room with our luggage. Chia entered the room and used the restroom, while Delilah and I unpacked some item, grabbed what we needed, used the restroom also, and then we made our way back to Jin, who was waiting for us in his double-parked car for us. Delilah gave the hotel clerk back the room key and told him if her mother called to tell that she was out and about the city of Paris and to take the message if she leaves any. Once all of us were back in Jin's car, we drove to a nice Asian family restaurant. Chi was craving some traditional Chinese food, and Jin knew exactly the place. They had been there many times before. Before going to the restaurant to wine and dine, we made a stop at an Asian grocery store and bought some snacks and ingredients to take back to Bezingen, Belgium. Jin and Chi were getting some stuff for his parents, so Delilah and I got some snack and perishable food items as well for our hotel room at the Hotel Royal Opera, so that we could snack on them while we would felt like it was while we were staying there in Paris. After the good hour-long grocery shopping, we all returned to Jin's car and went about to patron the Asian restaurant several miles down the busy road of Paris. We managed to find parking and we all entered the small business establishment. Most shops and homes in Paris were quite small, one on top of another, of course. Pretty crowded everywhere you go about town, whatnot. We were then seated, and after being welcomed by a nice Chinese man of whom his whole staff consisted of their entire family, his wife, kids, and cousin were all working together in that small Asian dive. After all, it is a family-run business and establishment. Shortly after we were seated and ready and read through our menu, we all ordered. Chia already had in mind what she had wanted to order, so she was first to order food and beverage. Then the rest of us ordered what we wanted, and we all shared a nice lunch dinner together that early evening. Chia had craved some Chia had craved some cabbage pork stew with some pickled fish on the side. That's what she had ordered. With the rest of us ordered steamed sesame chicken with spicy fish sauce, barbecue mandarin and Mongolian beef, and fried spicy salted shrimp. All were served with steamed white rice. We all had a nice relaxing dinner that night, getting our fill and just enjoying each other's companies. Jin and Chi asked us what our plans were while we were in Paris for the next few days. We told them that we wanted to see everything as much as we can, that we will go all over town if we could. We wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, of course, the Opera Square, the Arc, the Arch de Triple Étoile, the Louvre Museum, maybe tour the Versailles, the Fontainebleau, and Barbizon Royal State, the Seneca, the Grand Palais, the d'Almer, the Notre Dame Cathedral, and various other cathedrals, and all the places that Paris had to offer while we laugh and giggle about our aspiration for the city of Paris then. I was really happy being with Delilah, and I felt that I had been blessed then and there. After a good long dinner of talking and aspirations, I decided that I picked up the check for tonight's dinner to return the favor from the time that it took us to eat in Belgium at the Belgian family restaurant. Jin laughed and teased me about my extravagant spending. We all had a good laugh about it out of it. After the good dinner and the night was getting late, we thanked our restaurant host and left him a nice tip, and all of us exited the establishment and made our way back to Jin's car. Once we were situated and buckled ourselves in, we drove onward and headed toward our hotel across the other side of town. While driving all of us back to our hotel, Jin and Chia wanted to show us the nightlife of Paris, where everything was bright and outrageous. The weather that evening was getting pretty rough. Besides being cold and chilly, now it started to pour heavy rain. There goes our nighttime touring of the so-called City of Love. Since it was pouring rain heavily, Jin took his time in driving us back to our hotel. He was thinking about the safety of his passengers and of his pregnant girlfriend, Chia. That was good of him to think of us that way. He drove us onward. He drove us around that town still, letting us take a good glimpse of the heavily lit city of Paris. He drove down Kennedy Avenue alongside the river channel. He drove by the Eiffel Tower and made a short pause and let us look at it for a bit. It was nicely lit that night with bright yellow light. He drove on to the Montaigne Avenue and took several round around the roundabout and allowed us to see the fully lit carousel, the Louvre Museum in the back of it, and seeing the welcoming arch just the exact opposite of that museum, where the famous Mona Lisa painting was housed and displayed for millions of visitors and tourists to see each year. After giving us some feel of the nightlife of Paris, Jane drove us back to our hotel, and that was only minutes away by foot from the roundabout that we had just gone through several times. Once we arrived in front of our hotel, the rain was still heavy and stinging. We all exited the car in the rain and warmly greeted each other good night for the evening. Delilah and I thanked Jin and Chia for driving us to Amsterdam and showing us around Paris. We hugged once again. While they returned to the to and entered their vehicle, we waved goodbye and good night as they drove off, returning back to Belgium that night. After seeing the cousins of his girlfriend off, Delilah and I After seeing the cousin and his girlfriend off, Delilah and I, soaking wet, went into our hotel, took a quick visit with the night clerk. Delilah got her written message from her mom, and got our room key as well. We rushed ourselves upstairs around the winding staircase and entered our room with the card keys, and put away the food we had purchased earlier, and decided to go out to the roundabout to see what color the Eiffel Tower would be on tonight. After we checked our card key back to the clerk, we walked out of the hotel in hand, took a quick right, and headed straight for the roundabout on Rue Royal Street. The nightlife of Paris is quite crowded too. Many visitors and tourists were all out and about, taking pictures and enjoying each other's company, just like Delilah and I were. Even in the rain, we took pictures. Once we reached our part of the roundabout, we stood there in one of the corner and took picture of the nightlife. The city of Paris was so lit up that night. The Eiffel Tower was lit bright yellow on this misty night once again. Once we took picture of each other posing with the Eiffel Tower, Delilah's cell phone rang. Her mother had once again called her. She handed me her digital camera while she answered and talked to her mom on the phone in the rain. I knew my place when her mother called. I just had to keep my distance and kept my mouth shut, and took several more pictures of the nightlife scene. I took several snaps of Delilah with the cell phone. She signaled me to stop taking picture of her, like I was distracting her of some sort. I did my own thing then and waited for her to finish talking to her damn mother. After Delilah was finished with her colorful conversation with her mother on the other side of the world, we took several more pictures and then we went across the roundabout and got tickets for the colorful, nicely lit Ferris wheel carousel. We rode in on the Ferris wheel for a good 7 minutes or so, making about 10 revolution round. We took several pictures of each other while we were on the spinning wheel, and we kissed and patted, holding on to each other during our entire ride around. I really love being with this girl, Lord. Please don't let this thing end. I don't know what I'll do without Delilah. She had taken my heart, my mind, and my soul, Lord. We snuggled warmly while the wheel slowly turned and went around and round. After the nice round romantic ride, we were all pepped up for some fun love making tonight. We looked at each other and we knew what we wanted then and there. With our hands held tight, we ran back to our hotel room in the rain. Hurriedly we walked back, got our card key back from the clerk, leaped up the winding stair and straight into our room. Right to it, just like always, we began to undress each other of our wet, sweat-filled clothes. While undressing each other and teasing one another with pokes and kisses against up and down each other's neck, trying to turn one another on, of course we accomplished in that. Once our outside clothes were off and thrown into the walk-in shower area in the bathroom, we kissed and jabbed at each other's body parts. With both hands I firmly squeezed at Delilah's warm breast while I continued to gulp up her mouth and tongue with my mouth and face. She began to cup my balls and penis outside my briefs, arousing me once more and readying me for what was about to happen. All of a sudden we tore away at each other's undergarment and jerked and just took off advantage of each other in every sexual possibility. With our faces swollen and each other's and with our faces swallowing each other and with our hands and legs tangling about, we fucked and fucked each other into ecstasy that night through. Hot and bothered, we turned on the shower stall and without waiting for the water to reach the right temperature, we both threw ourselves inside the heavy flowing waterfall and just slammed at each other roughly as only we knew how. Still suffocating each other, with our face and grass, we went at it like terrible rabid beasts. Quickly, Delilah slammed her knees down and went at my heart-waiting shaft. She threw her face atop my penis and swallowed me whole, while she tried to eat me out. With both fists, I pulled at her head full of her hair and jerked myself back and forth into her open face. I forced myself deeply inside her until I exploded and a hard rush of creamy and sticky cum was foaming all over her mouth and face. For a few short seconds, she gagged at my floodgate that was suddenly open. With some effort, she swallowed down the hot cum and continued to suck on me until I was practically dry. With her mouth full, I pulled her back up by her armpit and threw myself beneath her and began my amusement with her dripping wet pussy. I ate and ate away at her snatch. I bit hard, harder than usual this time, and I just sucked at her elongated malformation clitoris with my teeth and hungry mouth. She too had fisted full of my hair when she jerked my head in and out of her creamy snatch that I was eating away at. With the force of her help and constant jerking, she squirted her tangy cum all over into my face, just like she had offered to do to me moments earlier. I returned the favor and ate at her until she was completely dry, still dripping wet from the shower, but were both exhausted. Still, sitting next to top already wet clothes from the rain of outside earlier, we caught our breath and readied ourselves for more sexual fun to come. With some return energy in our body and with some sinister smile, I smirked and we went about to pleasure each other once more in the shower, with our lustful body attached and wrapped around each other, with our loving and lustful embrace. While she lay atop the soak-wet clothes, I pried open her legs and fisted her warm, womanly hole with my right hand, while my left hand was busy with Delilah's wet, soapy bosom. Her hands were busied themselves. She continued to stroke me up and down while I was working my part on her open hole. After a few minutes of arousing and stuffing into her with my fists, and she was arousing me as well, I jerked myself away from her claw and jammed my hard-ready penis deep into her hot, oozing snatch, causing her to scream passionately. I went about heavily pounced up and down on her, striking my blows deeper and deeper into her. Would her legs lock themselves around my waist and she pushed back and forth against me, screaming and directing me to keep thrusting harder into her. This she had commanded of me that moment while we were fucking our heads off in and beneath the falling rush of warm water from the shower above. Fucking each other's night away and in each other's comfortable passion, Delilah and I practically fucked ourselves to sleep that night. After our waterfall adventure in the shower, we moved into the bathroom. Tile floor while she crawled and made her way out of the bathroom. I was still attached to her from behind with my penis pushing in and out of her with every movement of her legs and arm going forward. At moments, with some heavy thrust, we would cause ourselves to fall flat on our bellies, still stuck together like wild dogs fucking. With our laughter and sexual joys, we helped each other up and continued our fuckfest against the room's wall, rolling ourselves over and over again in each other's grips. From there we moved onward to the hotel queen-size bed. I threw the lie on top of the bed, causing her to bounce several times before I jumped myself on top of her carefully. Once again I began to eat away at her snatch, while she 69'd me with her mouth full of my cock and balls. We slurped and bit at each other's sexual organ, arousing each other even further. All of a sudden we had the bright idea of recording our sex escapade that night with our digital camera. I grabbed my digital camera and set it to video mode and began to record our nasty ass fucking. The camera lens was a zoom at my hardened penis fucking into her wet, sloppy snatch. With every thrust you can hear that plopping and pulling out friction sound of our continuous fucking and attachment of each other. After a few good minutes of recording our sexual deviance, we took a short break to watch the recorded video that we just had made of each other's sinful act. We giggled at what we saw, and Delilah sadly complained that her belly was too big. I reassured her that it was fine and it's not her belly that I'm in love with. It was all of her that I loved so dearly. So I had told her then. She smiled. We then kissed and hugged warmly, and shortly after we went back to our dirty, stained, sinful fucking for the rest of the night. We fucked and fucked until the wee hours of that next morning. It wasn't until 02 a.m. that Delilah and I finally fell fast asleep in each other's arms, still covered all over with our cum and exhausted bodily juices. We lay there in comfort, holding hands and just snuggling like lovers do. I awoke the next morning still tightly nuzzled in her warm bosom. I softly kissed him several times, trying to wake Delilah up for our day's event. Slowly and surely her hazel eye began to open. I said good morning and kissed her deeply upon her lips. She returned the deep, passionate kiss and murmured good morning in reply. I took the sheets off the both of us and ran to the window to open the curtain. From the sudden thrust of a curtain sheet, a rush of sunlight flashed into our room, allowing us to see the damage we had done the night before from our sexual encounters and fucking fits that we had thrown. We both laughed about the scenes and began to pick and gather things up and set them aside. A few seconds into our cleaning and organizing, Delilah's cell phone rang. Her mother had called to see how she was doing. Delilah signaled me to shut up and then answered the call. "Hi, Mom," she answered nonchalantly. For the next 40 minutes or so, Delilah and her mother talked about what she had been up to since she had gotten to Paris, and what she saw and what she did and what she planned to do with the city and country that she was going to next. While the mother and daughter talked, I went about to freshen myself up in the restroom. I shaved my morning stubble, took a nice cold shower to wash off the sticky residue that was stuck in and all over me. I had to scrub some of my body part heavier than usual. I had to scrub some of my body part heavier than some part just to get the stain out. After the cold wakening shower, I dry off and went about the room quietly, picking and cleaning up, making sure that Lilith didn't hear me in the background. I smiled and waved hello at Delilah. She returned the smile and put her left forefinger to her lips, directing me to keep quiet. I nodded and kissed her on her forefinger gently and silently, and went about my business cleaning up the room. While she continued to talk to her mother, I moved about the room, cat-like, and cleaned up the area, putting things away where they once belonged and setting things aside to where they should be. I waited patiently for Delilah to finish her conversation and busied myself with several pages of Sudoku number puzzle, and once Delilah was done with her mother on the phone, she said hello and told me that she was back. S- Still, still naked, I smiled and we hugged and kissed for a bit more until she went into the bathroom to freshen up and wash off her sticky body that was stained all over from last night's sexual fiasco. While she showered and washed herself, I was next to her beside the shower stall, talking and handing her soaps and shampoo. A few times she snuck her head out of the shower stall and we kissed, deeply kissing. It was like we were both in love, so I thought. I was really, really deeply in love with Delilah then. When she was done, I helped her to dry off. I patted down and rubbed her wet, moist porcelain skin. Once all dry, she went about to shave her facial hair and neck area. She too have grown some morning stubble. She does that all the time. Hey, she's quite hairy, okay, but I love her all the same, no matter how hairy she may be. She was my hairy lover after all, and I truly love her, Lord. After she was done with her facial manicure and such, she got dressed and we talked about our plans today. We were we were we were going to see the whole city of Paris, we jokingly stated. We left our hotel room, went downstairs, returned the card keys at the clerk's desk, and walked out with our backpack in tow and our double door out of the double door. From then we quickly crossed the street and directly into the French bread store and pastry across the street. We went in and ordered some morning breakfast of baked chocolate muffin and some hot chocolate. We paid and left the establishment with food and drinks in hand. We walked about toward the town's roundabout and we seen the night before. Paris was quite crowded. Even in the early morning, people were bustling and hustling somewhere to go and somewhere to do it at. Taxis and cab were all about. Delilah and I planned that we would take the subway and train, so on our way to the underground subway terminal, we found that the local public transportation system was on strike that week. No rails or public buses were running that week. It had turned out that we had come to Paris during a time of strike and protest by the city worker who works in public transportation. That made it sucked for us. Now we either got to walk or take the taxi everywhere. After the subway disappointment, we made our way back to our surface and went to walk about our site. And when we went to walk to our site that we wanted to visit by taxi, by because by taxi it would have been too pricey for us to travel around Paris. That day, Delilah and I walked all over, miles on end, visiting and patronizing various stores, museums, and malls, whatnot. We mostly window shop. We didn't really buy much. Most things were quite expensive too in Paris. High-end stuff, brand name item that one can't afford on my sub's teaching salary. But we fed our stomach well, stopping at outdoor corner cafe and feasted on fine dining and such. We also visited several nice design landscape and park throughout our area. Besides all the places that I had mentioned earlier, we also went to Jardin des Tuileries, a very large garden-like landscape that had lots of statues and several small ponds, bridges, and water parks. We visited various shops along the Avenue des Champs. We bought souvenirs and trinkets for safekeeping and such. Paris was quite elaborate and very crowded with tourists and natives throughout the entire day. Our morning walkabout went well, and after several hours of walking about and somewhat tired, we stopped at the local McDonald's and had our lunch there. Yes, we went all the way to Paris, France to have McDonald's. All of a sudden, the weather also took a change for the worse. The dark cloud had rolled in once again, bringing along some fog and some light mist. Delilah was disappointed. She and I had planned to get to see the Eiffel Tower that afternoon. We decided to trek our way there anyway, hoping maybe the dark, gloomy, ominous cloud would soon go away. We walked a good few miles toward the famous landmark. Tired and somewhat in pain and discomfort in our legs and back, we made it to the Eiffel Tower. It wasn't something that I had imagined it would be like. It wasn't that grand at all. The Eiffel Tower sucked. It was a tall, rusty steel statue that had lost its glimmer. It really looked bad during the day. That's why they say to see it at nighttime. Around the Eiffel Tower area was posted armed policemen. They were armed in heavy artillery with sub-automatic machine guns, small arms, and several knives of sort. Guess they were trying to keep the peace. Delia and I got in line to get up to climb up to take the elevator to the Eiffel Tower to see the city of Paris from above, but it was such a long line and long wait that we weren't moving fast anywhere fast, so we agreed to go somewhere else instead. We took some quick pictures of the Eiffel Tower and made our way back toward our hotel area. We have decided to visit the Louvre Museum instead. Once we left the Eiffel Tower, the dark cloud began to release the rain. It started pouring heavily while we walked toward the Louvre Museum. Drops after drops of rain fell all over the place. After a few minutes, Della and I were soaked up to our ears in rainwater. We just laughed and walked on. Hand in hand, we took some moments to kiss and made out, and then we walked onward in the rain. Of course, didn't have an umbrella. Heading toward our agreed destination of the Louvre Museum, we walked along the Quai Branly road that was alongside the Seine River that separated the two sides of Paris. Once we got to the Musée d'Orsay, we took a quick left and headed into the Pont Royal Street around area and made our way into the Louvre afterward in our wet clothing. Delia and I entered the museum through the Sully side of the pyramid entrance. We were in line to enter the pyramid. Our bags and belongings were searched through before we were allowed to enter entrance down the escalator to the underground entrance of the pyramid into the popular Louvre Museum. We got through the line with no hassle, and each of us paid an entrance fee to visit and see the Louvre Museum. Before taking our personal tour of the enormous museum, we took our coats off and tried to dry the stuff as we had before moving forward. Then, hand in hand, went about discovering the Louvre. We took we took the Louvre floor by floor, seeing what we can see, seeing what we can, and touching what was were allowed to. Throughout our tour in the Louvre, several times we took bathroom breaks and sat on benches just to relax and rest our aching foots and back, since it was so large. First, we hit the lower ground floor of the Louvre Museum, where there were artwork from Islam countries, sculpture from France, like the Horse of Marly, also some sculpture from Italy. We saw some Egyptian antiquities, also some Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquity. We also saw and read some stuff about the history of the Louvre and the medieval Louvre. After a good long hour walk down below, we made up to the next floor above, up to the ground floor area, where Delilah and I went about touring this floor also, taking in all of what we can see. On the ground floor level, we saw more sculpture from France and Italy once again, and some from the Mesopotamia time, and some Oriental antiquities, more Egyptian antiquities, and even more Greek, Etruscan, and Roman antiquity. And we also saw some nice work of art from Africa, Asia, Oceania, and from the Americas, mainly of South American ancestry. It was here on this floor that we saw the wonderful statue of Psyche and Cupid, locked in each other's embrace. I wish one day that Delilah and I would have our embrace be sculptured. It would be really nice to have that made of us. So I like to think. We also saw the tomb of the Philippe Pot in the French sculpture section. After another long hour walking around the ground floor level, Delilah and I took a short rest on the stairs and used the restroom. Once we gathered ourselves again, we made upward into the first floor of the Louvre Museum. It was here that we saw the famous portrait of the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci of Italy. The Mona Lisa painting wasn't that big or grand like everyone had said it was. It was quite small at the least. No one was allowed within 5 feet of it. No one was allowed within 5 feet of it though, and it was encased in a bulletproof, thick fiberglass case where you can only look at it from afar. and only with a good zooming lens camera could one see the detail of the artwork of this famous lady. And flash photography wasn't allowed then when snapping pictures of the Mona Lisa and several other thousand-year-old artwork throughout the Louvre Museum. No flashing photography. Besides seeing the famous painting of Mona Lisa, we also looked and viewed some objets d'art, more Egyptian antiquity, Greek etruscan and Roman antiquities, and painting from France and French monarch and Napoleon III era artwork. We saw print and drawing from the Molian time. Delilah and I spent a good long hour and a half until moving up to the last floor above on the second floor after some good stretch and rest once again. After Lana had caught our next wind of breath and energy, we moved up to the final level of the Louvre Museum. It was like we were playing some sort of game, climbing stairs and seeing things on the way. On the second floor, we saw more French paintings, accompanied with some handprints and some drawing. We also viewed some artwork from the German, Flemish, and Dutch painting and drawings. Besides what I had mentioned, we also saw some painting from the Belgian, Russian, Swiss, and Scandinavian. We also visited the Oriental Antiquity section up there on the second floor. The majority of the artwork that we were displayed in the Louvre Museum were hands off, and signs of do not touch work of art were posted everywhere in and about the large museum. Do not touch this, do not touch that. What the fuck? After our 5 hours of walking about in the Louvre Museum and seeing practically everything we could, Delia and I were quite exhausted, and we were ready to take a nap back at our hotel several blocks down the road from where we were. Outside was still pouring, so we were gathered ourselves. Delia and I ran in hand toward our room back at the Hotel Royal Opera. We double timed our pace and rather made it quickly back to our room. Once we got our card key from the desk clerk, we went upstairs to our hotel room. We undressed each other, kissed several passionate kisses, embraced and hugged, let our clothes dry, and we both took a long good nap in each other's warm embrace during that heavy, rainy day. Once we both awoke from the good long nap, we were both hungry for some food and refreshment. While we ran back to our hotel While we ran back to our hotel during the rain, I had noticed that a small Thai restaurant only a few doors away from our hotel. It was called Patong Thai Food. So I asked Delilah if she didn't mind eating Thai food that night. She didn't mind and I wanted to try some. We then got dressed in some we then got dressed in some new dry clothes, made out for a bit, and then we made our way once more from our hotel to wine and dine in the city of Paris. Outside the rain continued to pour heavily. Once we turned in our key card, we exited the hotel, took a quick right, and walked two doors down and entered the small Thai restaurant. Once we had entered, we were greeted by a little cute Thai girl who asked us how many people was with our party. We mentioned only two, and she guided us to a candlelit table. It was about 1700 now that night, and we patroned this Thai restaurant establishment. There we were several other couples enjoying their meals in the Patong Thai bistro. We read through the menu and decided what we wanted to eat in that night before dinner. We each ordered the curry rice combo platter with some fried fish and squid on the side. We were then greeted by the cute girl's father, who was the owner of the place. He introduced himself and asked if we would like any wine to drink of sort to go with our meals. The nice gentleman took our orders and brought us our bottle of red wine. The romantic atmosphere of this fine bistro got Delia and I in the mood for more fooling around once we had our fill of Thai food whatnot. We know we were gonna fuck each other that night again. The wine also helped throw out our inhibition out the window, allowing us to get down and nasty with our beastly sins, lusts, and thoughts to destroy each other's body that night once again. Delia and I took sips of the red wine while waiting for our dinner to cook and arrive. About a good glass of red wine, our order were brought to our table. The smell of the curry and fried fish and squid was really tempting. We went about to feed each other a spoonful of fish meats and chopped up squid. We devoured our meals wholly and had our fill. We really had a nice romantic dinner that night. The atmosphere was perfect for it, and we ate to our heart's content. Once we finished and ready to leave, I asked for the check and we paid and tipped our host and thanked him for the fine meal. We also said good night to his little cute cute little daughter who was studying her French academic at one of the unused tables that night in the small business. We left the nice bistro, took a quick left in the rain, and headed two doors down back into our hotel. Once we got our card keys back from the desk clerk, we made our way up and we returned our room and made love for the rest of the night. With our stomach full and our mental state a little drunk, we fucked each other, whatnot, without worrying about what that would be the outcome from our drunken stupor that night. We did our usual nasty sexual acts, eating away at each other's sexual organs and orifices, and ejaculating in and all over each other once again. We stained the hotel bedsheet and blanket. We left stained handprints on the walls and window while we were leaving our sticky sweats and stain all over the leather cushioned chairs and polished wooden desks. Delilah and I made love all over the hotel room that night. I think we even urinated in some part of the room, not worrying about what we were doing. We pretty much once again trashed our hotel room that night with our fuck fest. No matter where I was or what I was doing, as long as I was with Delilah, I am satisfied and comfortable. I really enjoy making love with Delilah, no matter how dirty or how hideous our sexual acts are. As long as I was with her, I was really happy. She has made my day, Lord. After our night of sexual fun and some memories lost of the night events because of being drunk and from the red wine, we awoke with our arms locked around each other's waists. Our breaths stink of curry, fish, and squid. We laughed and went about to freshen ourselves up for the day's event. While we were in the bathroom cleaning up, we discussed our plans for the day. What our plans were, since the railway and public buses weren't running and we were pretty much seen and done everything we had wanted to see the last 2 days. We didn't want to stick around Paris too long, so we decided right there and then that we would check out the afternoon and take the Thalys International train back to Brussels, Belgium. We both agreed on that, and I gave my uncle a collect call to his home in Belgium to let him know that we were returning to Brussels earlier than we had planned, and if he could pick us up that afternoon, and that we would call him once we arrived at the train station there in Brussels. He agreed, and we said our goodbyes and hung up our phone. Delilah and I began to pack our belongings into our luggage and backpack, and we went downstairs to talk to the clerk about the route we needed to take to get to the Thalys train station. He mentioned that since the public railway and buses aren't running, that the only and quickest way to the Thalys station was by taxi. We agreed with his suggestion, and he called us a cab for that afternoon. We thanked him, returned our room, and got our stuff ready in order ready to check out the hotel. Once we had checked out and paid for our 3 day stay, Delilah and I waited in the lobby for our taxi to arrive. Several minutes down the road later, the taxi arrived. He honked us out. We thanked the clerk and boarded a taxi with our luggage in tow. We told the cab driver to take us to the Thalys station in Paris Nord, and he knew exactly where it was. The drive to Thalys station took about 30 minutes or so by cab, and once we arrived, we paid the cab driver and entered the large international train station. With our luggage in tow, we found the ticket station area. We stood in line behind several other travelers. We had our passport in hand to use it as identification to buy our ticket to Brussels. While online, we stole several sweet kisses, and I pretended to bit at Delilah's why she laughed at my comedic gesture. After about 15 minutes of waiting in line, we got to one of the ticket agent and asked for tickets from Paris to Brussels. It was weird. Delilah and I were charged differently for our train ticket because of our age difference. Anyone over 25 years old was charged more than anyone under 25. We got our train tickets, and our departure time was set for 1200 at midday. Delilah and I then proceeded to our gate and the train terminal and waited at the terminal area. We waited for about an hour or so before our train was due to leave for the Brussels area. While waiting, we snacked on fast food and beverages. We took more pictures of each other in and around the large train depot. Shortly after, it was announced that we were boarding our train, so we boarded, found our assigned seats, and we journeyed back to Brussels. Delilah and I rode the Thalys train from Paris Nord to Brussels Midi in Brussels, Belgium. The Thalys train wasn't as nice as the Eurostar train, but it was comfortable all the same, and our trip to Brussels would take about 2 hours or so. Thank you for listening. This is the end of chapter 144. Be on the lookout for chapter 145, titled One More Day Stay in Belgium. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.